Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Tuesday, the 22nd of November, comes to you from London. And remember, I record this every morning. It doesn't always go up on LinkedIn. I put it out on Twitter. We put the links out on YouTube and Twitter. But the best place to get it is at Charts Today. Just go to chartstoday.com and you can register. And you then get it every morning. So when I record it, and as I say, I don't always post it in all the different places, but if I'm recording it, it's going on chartstoday.com. So that's the place to get it. So really the key thing that happened last night in the energy market was this really big dive in about $5 down on the crude oil futures. Both WTI and Brent crude dived on a story from the Wall Street Journal that OPEC were going to increase production. And it was really quite interesting just seeing this massive dive. And then the Saudis denied this, saying that this wasn't going to be the case. And we saw crude oil futures bouncing right back. Very unusual that you'll see a news story come out like that can move the price that quickly. And I guess that really just shows us just how jittery the market is. It's almost fearful with demand destruction that we are going to see some negative impacts on crude oil prices, which is of course great if you're a consumer or you're a buyer of crude oil, but for producers that's going to have implications, and all eyes really on China and demand destruction there. So we'll come back and we'll look at that in a minute. So first of all, we just look at the main markets. Quite a bit of green on the screen this morning, so straight away you can see that markets are a little bit more perky than they were yesterday. We start by looking at currencies. The dollar index has bounced a little bit. We're still bullish on the short term, remembering this is the weekly, the daily, and the 60-minute cloud, my long-term, medium-term, and short-term view of the market. So we are, and then the corresponding point and figure targets that go with those charts. So interestingly, we are seeing that fall in the dollar just holding really, and on the medium term we're just moving below the cloud, so we're starting to enter some bearish territory. The run in the dollar, remember at the beginning of 2022 we said that it would be the year of the dollar. The run in the dollar, it's up some 20% in a year. We are now pulling back. 110 was the floor. That's now the ceiling. Whilst we're below 110, and that's where the cloud level is, we are medium-term bearish. The long-term charts are still bullish for the dollar, but we may now see a sideways move or a pullback that goes for a good couple of years. Looking at the euro, we are stronger there, of course, with that weaker dollar, and we're seeing that on the medium-term chart, and the euro makes up a big part of that dollar index. And sterling is looking pretty strong, sitting at 118.57. So against the dollar, it's holding those gains, and that's quite key. And if we look at against the euro, we're sitting at 115.35. Again, sterling starting to just look a little bit stronger, and we're seeing that on the short-term chart. Bitcoin is below $16,000. No big surprises there. But what is important is we've activated a big downside target here. So that target there has been activated with a new low, and that gives us a new target to $9,000 for Bitcoin. A lot of people struggle to believe that, remembering that 15.7 was the target that was given back at 28,000. We had a new downside target. You ignore these targets at your peril. Really, remember they're just selling thrusts that are generating those targets, and you cannot ignore them. So Bitcoin, new downside target activated to 9,000. And we had a similar activation on Tesla yesterday, and we'll look at that in a minute. The S&P 500 index was down slightly yesterday. The NASDAQ also lower, and we are just seeing really that relief rally in the NASDAQ just starting to come to a little bit of an end there. So that when we look at it on the longer term chart, we see we have a relief rally to a lower high, then a lower low. So really these are just relief rallies in the downtrend. We're bearish below the cloud with downside targets again. Cannot ignore them. Now the futures are up very slightly this morning. We've got the S&P future up, but the markets look set to open flat based on where we are sitting in the futures at the moment. The UK market is up 0.75% on the FTSE future, so that's looking a little bit better. And that chart actually looking much better than the US market, whilst we're above the cloud there on the weekly. And quite interesting, the oil majors in the UK being big constituents are driving that. The DAX in Germany up just over 0.25%, looking better on that medium-term chart, just testing cloud resistance on their weekly chart. But Germany, the outlook is looking better. And if we look at the Japanese market, we're up another 1%. That's market starting to look really quite interesting as well. And I've noticed Buffett's buying into Japan. Quite interesting that we are seeing starting to look bullish on all three time frames for the Japanese market. So that is interesting. The Hang Seng down 1.3%. Not bullish here. We are below the cloud. We have had a big relief rally, but the reality is we're still bearish on that long and medium term chart. We pulled back at 15,000. There were buyers there, but the reality is we are still bearish. The Indian market also, so the Chinese market up a little bit. The Indian market up 0.5%. Still looking great. Interesting how that market is looking to test new highs there. We are really just nudging those levels with upside targets, and Japan starting to look a bit like that as well. The Aussie market was up 0.6%. I noticed a lot of my Aussie stocks were up quite handsomely, especially energy stocks in Oz, and so that's looking quite good as well. And interesting just seeing that market now starting to look more bullish on that medium-term chart. We'll look at the energy mix in a minute, but looking at gold, we're at 1747. Just making this cloud transition quite a slow one, but the reality is we are moving through that change in the dollar has helped precious metals, and silver is back above $21. We know silver inventories are low, and that's having an impact there as well. We've got US 10-year yield sitting at 3.8%. The charts there still very, very bullish in the long term, and not enough to change the medium term picture. And as I mentioned, we've got a new downside target for Tesla. We had that target in place, but talked about that. We've activated the downside target. Tesla has another 34% downside, 35% on this chart. Two targets pointing to the same place. That's a cluster. That's going to increase the likelihood that we go to that level. So not good news for Tesla shareholders. Now we talked about Brent crude. We've had a relief after that fall yesterday. A little bit of a fallback. Coal sitting steady at $220, so that's looking quite good for recovery. Just hitting on cloud support. This is my daily and my 60 minutes, so medium term, short term, and then the 1 minute chart targets. A new upside target there for coal if we can activate that target. US nat gas sitting at 653. 650 is the level that we really need to hold. We are looking more bullish on that 60 minute chart. We just are struggling. We've got some downside targets there as well. Emissions struggling at this 75 euro mark, just can't get through that level. So that is really quite key. We were neutral on emissions today on the basis that we've got targets in both directions. Watch this 1 minute chart. If you're trading emissions, watch the 1 minute chart for how these resolve. Now, gas prices starting to look more interesting. We're only up 1.5–2% on European gas prices this morning, but we are building a base. We're bullish on the 60-minute cloud above there. We can get above the 125 level, and we've got this 130 target that is activated. And really, if we look at the longer-term chart for gas, it is actually looking like we are on the edge there, because we've had mild temperatures so far, but we've found support at that previous level. This is a year-long trend. Winter is coming. Look at the spikes we had last time. That's going to be quite interesting just to see how that unfolds. But we are building a little bit of base, and just watch for new highs here. That's going to be quite key. That 135 level, we break that, that would be a higher high, the beginnings of a new uptrend in gas prices. So that's something to watch. And we're also seeing power prices doing something similar. We're up nearly 2% on the Cal 23. Cal 24 actually just holding that base level there. This data coming from EEX. Again, just watch for a break higher there. That's it for today. Now remember, you can sign up at chartstoday.com, and if you sign up there, every time the video comes out, you'll get a notification so you can watch it straight away. You don't have to keep an eye out for it. Until tomorrow, Happy charting. See you then.